For the benefit of the women watching or listening to this podcast, could you introduce yourself and who you are and what you do?
As you already know, my name's Sarah Jane Brown, and I am primarily a landscape painter based in Pembrokeshire in West Wales. I started just painting as a way to heal myself, really. It's become a business. That has kind of evolved also into teaching and mentoring and other streams that kind of come along with it.
Was there like a pivotal moment that made you realise that this could be a business? So going from hobby into actually making money, what was that moment like? Or did it just naturally evolve into a business? Was it quite a natural process?
So just to give you a bit of a backstory, I used to have what my dad called a proper job, in inverted commas. Very sensible, and did all the things that, because I always believed that it wasn't possible to make a living being an artist, and it wasn't really an option. I had a bit of a meltdown in my 30s, a bit of a sort of mental health crisis, I would say. I was off work for a really long time, just trying to recover from that, and probably about 3 years I was in a really deep state of depression and sort of anxiety and paralysis, I would say. I didn't really go out of the house for that time. I didn't really function very well. As I started to emerge from it, started to feel a bit better, I took myself off to Pembrokeshire College. I went to evening classes just as a way to get myself out of the house, because I hadn't been out for so long. I hadn't interacted with other human beings, and I was finding it really difficult to concentrate or focus on anything for very long. And it was like magic. That was the first thing, and then I was kind of encouraged to continue. The tutors kind of said, "Oh, you should do a full-time course." So found full-time foundation, art and design foundation, and just really threw myself into it. 3-year degree.
Yeah.
And halfway through my degree course, my cousin invited me to do a joint exhibition with him, and he's a ceramic artist. So we had this exhibition called Related Shorelines, which was a bit of play on words. I almost sold out everything that I had.
Wow.
So I had to register as self-employed because I'd sold all this work. And then because I was doing, I still had another year of my degree course, and we had the final degree exhibition, and then we took that to London, and I sold work in London then at that exhibition as well, and I sold work for my degree show. So it wasn't like I had to have an agonising thought about, okay, I'm going to become a professional artist. And a bit like anything, like the more you do it, the more you learn, the more you want to do it well. You get a feel for what you're doing and how to go about it, and
So did it help you get through and past the problems you'd been having then?
My dad died in the middle of all that too, so that was a bit of a setback.
Yeah.
But I definitely dealt with it much better because I had a focus outside of myself.
So things naturally started to happen in terms of people noticing your work and then inviting you to do things. When did you get to the point where you actively had to sort of set up the foundation of this business so that you could promote yourself and attract customers? When did that start to happen? How far into it were you before you realised stuff's happening, but I actually need to make this a proper business now and start selling as well actively to the public?
Well, when I finished my studies and I, then had exhibitions and I was making sales, then I actually did an art business course. I kind of did an online course. It was one of those first early online courses, but it was really helpful because I learned a lot of things about the business of being in business. I would have loved to have done art, but that was kind of fairly shut down. But I think with kindness, and the opportunities then didn't exist in the way that they do now with the internet. Now looking back, my dad's advice was good. Shortly before he died, and I told him that I thought I was going to go and do this fine art degree. I thought, Dad, I'm going to do a fine art degree. And he said, oh, what a good idea. You always were good at art.
Oh.
Oh, you tell me, don't be ridiculous. So I had a basic business, a basic knowledge of business things and business language. I'd forgotten most of it, especially the financial stuff. But I kind of understood the structure and the need for marketing and the principles of demand and supply and all of that kind of thing.
What would you say has been the most effective way that you market yourself? I mean, given that we live in such a beautiful county of Pembrokeshire, and obviously there's that whole, it's not what you know, it's who you know type of thing. But like, what has worked for you from a pure marketing perspective in terms of getting yourself out there into the world, Sarah, would you say?
So much has changed in that time, and the way that everybody goes about marketing. Nobody,
definitely.
It's like nobody even has a yellow pages anymore. I don't even know if they print them. I don't even have a landline number anymore.
Exactly.
Just the whole way of marketing things, and it was very much more in person and gallery centric.
Yeah.
Going to exhibitions, getting your work seen in exhibitions, making contacts with people, talking to people, networking.
Yeah.
Because the options on the internet didn't really exist in the same way that they do now. It was just sort of starting. I kind of went through various iterations of a website, and now it's definitely it's a combination factor of trying to maintain the online presence, trying to use social media to feed traffic to the website or to events, and then doing the in-person thing as well. So and the other thing that's changed is that I now have my studio, so I have physical premises, so that means I can have in-person visitors. So then it's
another layer.
It's definitely a multi-pronged approach.
Just quickly talk about your transition from your garden space into your studio, just really quickly. Talk very briefly about that journey from one space to another. So I think that was a really pivotal moment for you, wasn't it?
I think I got my studio in the garden near the end of my degree course.
Right.
So, it was several years on the kitchen table and annoying my husband with all my mess. And then got a log cabin and built it in the garden.
Nice.
And that sustained me for quite a few years.
Yeah.
But obviously the more work that I was producing was getting to the point where I was also storing equipment and supplies and finished work and work in progress. And there just wasn't enough space. I started looking for somewhere else that I could maybe rent, and I looked online for something, and there was something on the internet about places for sale or for rent. There were a couple of places that were available, but one was this big, huge industrial space. But obviously, me having an artistic visual brain, I could immediately just see the potential. Yeah, that was
brilliant. With an office, with a kitchen, with a mezzanine for your packing and, perfect.
Yeah. So it's a big main space which has 6-meter high ceilings, an office and a kitchen and a toilet and a storeroom. I was probably almost bordering on ridiculous amount of space. That just makes things easier.
If I was to put you on the spot and say what's been the biggest challenge you face as a business owner, then maybe not as an artist, maybe it's just a business owner, what would you say that was?
Finances, probably.
Right.
Months where it's bountiful, and months where it's very very lean. And so I think I've struggled personally to make that more predictable, trying to find ways to even that out. If you're working towards an exhibition, then you're in production mode.
Yeah.
And when you're not a factory or a production line or a retail where you're just buying things in and then selling them on, you are making the product, and you're pouring your heart and soul into that. Again, it's that sort of creative kind of right brain thing where you're just really exploring and creating and putting your heart and soul into something, and then having to try and switch to more logical business thinking. Getting back to my point was that for a period of time I have to be in production mode and to be in that thinking creative space, and then there's a switch to kind of, okay, now I've got to photograph it, and I've got to catalog it, and I've got to upload it to the website, and then I have to do social media and promote stuff, all the admin tasks that go with it. And then you get to an exhibition where you might be selling it, and there's still no guarantee whether you're going to or you're not, so it's very much a month to month, depending on what's happening in the year's event and what's coming up, and then kind of working deadlines back from that date.
So as a sole trader then, let's dig into that a little bit, because I'm one as well, and there's so many people I've worked with and who are sole traders. What would you say the kind of sweet spot is in terms of finding that balance between doing what you do and running the business? What are the sort of tools or techniques or mechanisms you've used to help overcome that challenge of being just one person with a million hats?
That's a good question. Well, if we take tools, there's an art business software. It's called Artwork Archive, and it's basically a database where I put in all my artworks as I'm produced them, images, high resolution images, low resolution images, sizes, titles, prices, exhibition histories, collectors. It's a sort of CRM as well, so I've got all of my customers' information there, like inventory numbers. Anyway, I've consistently used that.
Yeah, you have?
For probably more than 10 years now.
Yeah, it's great.
And so my whole business is in that, and that it enables me to stay on top of where everything is. Whatever your industry is, if there is a system that you can adopt, like adopting a system of some sort early on, and keeping track of your stocks or your inventory if you have them. Like, I can look at a painting and see who bought the painting. I can see, any interactions that I've had with that collector. And that means that I can come at it from different directions. So, and when I first started, it never occurred to me for a second that I wouldn't remember selling a painting. So I wouldn't remember, that just seemed inconceivable. But then now, like 15 years. And it's literally, I don't know how many, probably, if I went on my system, I could tell you how many paintings.
Yeah, exactly.
Over 1,000. Easy. And I can't remember, I don't remember who bought what or where.
So to add on to the kind of the tools that have helped you to manage your business independently as a sole trader, what else would you say is critical?
If you're doing a lot of social media, which everybody probably should, if that's YouTube or it's Facebook or Instagram or just paid advertising, you need a way to be able to plan it, schedule it and track it. The main thing is having a scheduler. What I have taken to doing is kind of trying to batch tasks and get, a collection of images together, edit the images, ready to post. And I can put them into a scheduling tool and I can write the captions to go with them, and I can kind of draft them. But I think you have to be really intentional about using times to do it where you're not being pulled off track from something else.
100%.
Going to say is just being strategic about why you're doing it. The reason for doing social media is to get eyes to your business, is to get traffic to your business. You've got to have a system on the other end of it. If somebody goes from social media and they're curious enough to follow a link, if you haven't got a way to to nurture those leads, if you haven't got a way to contact people, then what you've done is you spent, you know, a huge percentage of your time creating content, putting it onto social media, and then it doesn't do anything. You have to have the end result in that. The end goal is to do business, to get a client, to get a customer, to get a sale. So a lot of people, especially early stage solopreneurs and people in business, think I've got to do social media, and they're spending all this time making all this content, but they haven't thought about the strategy and the back end of what they actually want people to do once they've engaged with that content. So
that's right. You got it. So that's the challenge, isn't it? So you mentioned email. Do you want to go on and just quickly
email
the sort of benefits of it, what you've got from it, how engaged your audience is, how you got your audience in the first place?
Everybody in business needs to be doing email at whatever cadence they can manage, as much as they can manage.
I agree.
I've had people on my email list for 15 years
that
I haven't heard from, and then suddenly they'll pop up. You know, you probably need to be sending email more frequently, but without fail, everybody needs to be staying in touch with their customers, telling people what's going on, staying top of mind, because the world is full of distractions. More and more and more. We've got more and more distractions all the time. And unless you're reminding people that you exist, they will forget.
100%. And what would you say would be the sort of ideal kind of number of emails that you would send to a customer on your list a month?
Because of the nature of, people are not buying a painting every week or a painting every month or even a painting every year. So, but now what I'm finding is that I'm at the moment trying to design online courses. And I know that I will need, because of the nature of that, because it's a much quicker turnover of things.
More,
and people need reminders, and people need, then that's like going to be a really different cadence.
But having said that, you've layered it with your prints and with your merch as well. So actually across the board, potentially one email could have the option to buy any one of those things, and that could happen weekly, couldn't it?
That's true.
A fine line. It's a fine line between overdoing it.
Again, it's I'm not saying I do this perfectly at all.
Nobody does.
The intention is there to send more than I do, and sometimes but I am fairly consistent, but I could definitely do more frequently. And I suppose what I think is that it's not, depending on your business and the cadence that you need to send. In terms of turnover of your product or whatever, or your service or whatever you're selling, that what matters is the quality. And so I think, especially now with AI, and some people using it fairly indiscriminately. If you see that name in your inbox, do you trust that person's name is going to give you something interesting, valuable, entertaining, enrich or enhance that moment? Or is it going to just deplete it? Is it going to just suck your time or make you wish you hadn't opened it? I'm always trying to say something that's meaningful or personal or interesting or educational or helpful. I think just trying to keep in mind, if I opened this email from someone else, would I want to read it? If you're trying to keep the person in mind and you're trying to give them something of yourself or valuable, and and I think with AI it's more important than ever that you kind of give a little bit more of your human connection.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. So moving on to AI then, what are you in the sort of, it's useful camp, or are you in the more, I'm scared of it, I don't want to touch it camp?
It's useful.
Yeah.
It terrifyingly brilliant.
Yes, it can be, for sure. Yeah.
It's here. It's not going anywhere. It's growing faster than anyone
Goodness me,
can even
isn't it?
imagine. You know, the internet was a massive shift
Still, isn't it?
culturally, and
Yeah.
this is bigger than that and faster
Oh my
than
God.
that, and it's
It's insane, isn't it?
yeah. But also it has all this amazing potential.
Yeah. It's exciting.
And I think most people are underusing it, myself included. Like treating it like you would treat a team member where you were having to explain something, or you were having a conversation about something.
Yeah.
And you're having a back and forth, or you need to go do some research about something, or get some numbers for something, or analyze something. Like,
It's been incredible.
As if you talking to someone and asking a person to help you, if you just talk to it in that language, in that way of thinking.
Exactly. It's a good starting point.
It's like having an employee, but an employee that you can have a conversation with.
Yeah.
But that has read the entire internet, so it can access everything.
If you were to give a female, potential business owner out there some advice, what would you say to her thinking of starting a business?
I think you can use the internet, you can use AI. I mean, now you can get so much advice.
Yeah.
Like literally in your pocket. That we just didn't have access to when we were starting. But also, I think just ask lots of questions, do lots of research, like educate yourself about what you need. Don't just stick your head in the sand and go, oh, I'll just do this and it'll be fine. Like, talk to people that have gone before you. We have Business Wales, so there's very often government help for business startups. Sometimes there's funding for startups. So there is lots of help available. And I think seek out help. Don't try and do it all yourself.
No, absolutely.
So that's one thing. Get a good picture of kind of the pros and cons and what you need to get started, but try not to get overwhelmed. I actually have this on a post-it note.
Right. Okay, what is it?
Done is better than perfect. Because we can all get I still get stuck up in my own head and want to make everything perfect. And actually, sometimes you just need to get it out. You're really good at.
Yeah.
Like riding a bike. Like,
just got to get on there.
If you sit on a bike and just try and balance on a bike without moving, you just fall over. Like,
absolutely.
Actually, it's the momentum of moving and then being able to wobble a bit and to course correct.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, and then as you get up speed, you kind of.
And next thing you know, there's a great big hill, and that's okay. You can get off and walk. It's no problem.
You can't get anywhere if you're not moving. You can't course correct if you're not in motion. You can't keep your balance if you're not in motion. What
would you say is the next thing coming for you then in your business, Sarah? What's around the corner for you? What do you see as future projects that are coming?
Kind of getting more and more interested in coaching and mentoring other artists or people, coaching generally, but I'm doing some work with an art business coach and helping her coach in her program. I'm kind of starting to do that in my own business. I've done some mentoring as well for a Canadian company, so I really enjoy the kind of mentoring thing, and I feel like now at this stage I've got lots of information in my head, lots of experience, I've tried a million different tools and platforms in terms of the mindset around things. About kind of very often I think it's just whether you're an artist or a person selling
Pens.
plants or something. Doesn't matter. Like,
No, it doesn't.
Anything that we achieve or don't achieve in life, pretty much 80% of it boils down to mindset. That aspect of it really interests me. So I'm in the process of putting together something that's much more mindset orientated for artists.
Fantastic. That's exciting.
A bit more of a coaching program than mix this paint with this paint.
Got it.
Like, a bit more, because a lot of artists get very analytical and they're trying to do the right thing and be very process driven and very technique, interested in the tips and the tricks and the techniques, all the T's. They just need to relax and
feel
play,
it.
play and explore and be prepared to make mistakes. And that goes back to that bike analogy. Like, you've got to get on the bike and get moving, and if you fall off, well, okay, you can get back on the bike.
Yeah, but you've learned a lesson.
You're never going to learn to ride it unless you actually get on it and move.
No, it's so true.
It's and that can apply to anything we do in life and any business and anything worth doing. You have to try and you have to fail, and the faster you fail, the faster you learn, the more you get moving.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm still also trying to paint for an exhibition, and I'm trying to teach the students what I've got, and I'm trying to,
load your courses.
And
there
are only so many hours in the day. So
yes. So you mentioned you've got exhibition coming up. Do you really quickly just want to say where, when, what the date is, and how people can find you online, Sarah?
The exhibition is at Beaches Gallery in Ross-on-Wye, which is in Herefordshire.
Yeah, nice.
In July. Some various other kind of group exhibitions, and then at the end of the summer, in August, September, is the Open Studios. So that is a chance for visitors to the area to come and visit lots of different artist studios, one of which is mine, at Broady Business Park, which is near Newgale Beach, which is a very stunning place in Pembrokeshire, in the UK. Our website is sjbfineart.com.
Yeah, and that's for all your socials and stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's links to all of those from there. And my Instagram and Facebook are both at sjbfineart, so it's the same. The new Instagram and Facebook account for the teaching side of things. So that's sjbfineart. Academy. Yeah, perfect. That's amazing. Oh, thank you ever so much, Sarah, for your time. I know how busy you are, and like I said, because you are, there's just one Sarah, right? So only one pair of hands.
Yeah, and there's only so many hours in the day, so I really appreciate your time and stuff. So
the blinding sunlight.
I know, I've had it as well. I've had to constantly shift my computer around, stop my head looking like it's about to sort of glowing. So cool. Have you got any sort of parting words of wisdom that you want to share, or are we all good wrapping up?
Get into Amanda's Amanda's world.
Oh, bless you.
Because I mean, we've worked together, for quite a long time now and become friends, and Amanda is, we call her Amazing Amanda in our world. She's amazing. And you're very much action focused and like, okay, let's sit down and plan this out. Let's do this. As I have already confessed, I can be an overthinker, so we balance each other out quite well. I do the deep thinking and you do the fast action.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know your stuff. You know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. So
as do you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you ever so much. It's been brilliant.